Today we are going to discuss the first example of exception. So now we are writing a simple code, that is class tstexp1. Under that, public static void main string s. Then we declare a variable as integer and initialized to the value 10. So we write a equal to 10. Then we also initialize b, that is int b equal to 5, int c equal to 5. Next we write a statement, that is int x equal to a by b minus c, and then system.out.println x, and closes the class. So in that particular code you can find that in this statement there is a division by 0 error occurs. Actually this division by 0 errors is nothing but the runtime arithmetic exception. So whenever we write this code, an exception object creates and Java default exception handling mechanism catches the exception and throws the appropriate message. So if we see the output, you can find that in the output we can have a message like that: exception in thread main java.lang.arithmetic exception. So the exception is arithmetic exception, then colon, then by 0, divided by 0. So actually it is the arithmetic exception that caused by divided by 0. At tstexp1.main, then tstexp1.java :8. So this line has also a meaning. So tstexp1 is the class name, main is the method name where the exception occurs. tstexp1.java, that is actually the file name, and line number 8. So you can think of, in the class tstexp1, in the method main, and in the file tstexp.java, line number 8, there is an arithmetic exception that is caused by division by 0. So if I write the line numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, you can find that the line number is 8 where the division by 0 error or the exception, arithmetic exception, occurs. Now in this piece of code I am not writing any exception handling mechanism like try or catch block, but Java default exception handler will handle this kind of exception and throws the appropriate message like this. You can identify the type of exception, the line number, the method name, the class name, the file name in that output. So Java runtime system detects the divide by 0. It constructs a new exception object and throws this exception. In that example, we have not supplied any exception handlers. So default handler processes the exception object and display the proper message. So if we are not using any exception handling mechanism, Java default exception handling will occur and throws the catch the exception, throws the error message, and that is the example of actually default exception handling method. Now we come to the second example. In the previous example, we see that the exception is in the main method. Right now we are trying to create a statement that will cause the division by 0 error, and that is the arithmetic exception, and inside a particular method. So we write our class tstxp2, and under this we write some method like subroutine, and in that particular method we write a statement where int a equal to 10 by d, and d is previously initialized to 0. So this statement will cause an arithmetic exception of type division by 0 error. Now in main method we call this subroutine method, and we can find that in the output there is an exception of type arithmetic exception that caused by divided by 0 error. So now comes to the output. You can see the output: exception in thread main java.lam arithmetic exception caused by division by 0 error. At obviously in the previous case it will be the class name, it will be the method name, it will be the file name, and where the line number of the exception in the method, that is 6. So if I write this line numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 so on, you can think of at the line number 6 in the subroutine method there is an exception that is caused by division by 0. So in the output the specifications of the exception, where it is caused, under which method it is caused, under which file it has, all these are printed. And obviously in the main method we are calling this subroutine. So actually this 10 line number is also present in the exception handler. In the example we are not using any try-catch block, but Java default exception handling will catch the exception, throw the exception, we get the proper message. Now we come to the next example of exception handling. Here we use the concept of try-catch block. In the previous class we know that the try block is a block where some statements are there which may cause some exception. So we are writing a statement that will cause division by 0 error, and that will be the arithmetic exception, and that is catched, that is written in the try block and cached in the catch block. So class tstxp3, then public static void main string args, then we initialize the variable d and a. Then in the try block we write the statements that may cause some exception. So we initialize d equal to 0 and a equal to 42 by d. Now you think that this statement will cause the division by 0 error and it will be an arithmetic exception. So if this happens, we catch this exception using the catch block. So in the catch block, as you see in the previous class, we have to specify the type of the exception. So what is the type of the exception? That is arithmetic exception, and E is the object that is thrown by the try block, catch by the catch block. So in that catch block we processes the exception. That means we are trying to give some information about the exception, what type of exception may be there, and like that. So in catch block we simply write system.out.println division by 0. So whenever the program executes, if this will cause the division by 0 error, and that is an arithmetic exception, catch will give you some idea about that. That means the error occurred for a statement where division by 0 is present. And next we write system.out.println after catch statement. So here one interesting fact is there. Whenever there is an exception in the try block, the control jumps to the catch block without executing the next line. So we are writing right after the exception system.out.println and some message. It will not be printed in the output. If the division by 0 error occurs, that is an arithmetic exception, obviously the control goes to the catch block and prints the output division by 0, and that after catch block we can have our normal flow of execution like system.out.println after catch statement. So you can expect in the output there are two messages. One is there is an error caused by division by 0 and after catch statement. So in output only two statements will be printed, division by 0 and after catch statement. So you can see that this line, that is just after the exception in the try block, it will not be printed. So to handle runtime error, we enclose the code that is in the try block and add a catch block that specifies the exception type. So here is an division by 0 error occurs, that is obviously a runtime error, and that will lead to an arithmetic exception. And whenever there is an arithmetic exception or like exceptions, the statements which can cause exception we write into the try block and we handle it using catch block and giving some appropriate exception type and some message.